And I walked in the door. I remember walking in the door and saying words like, this happened for me, and we have to do something different now. Oh, I was a mom. I was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't really have a clear sense of my path. Some people are really career-driven. All I knew was I wanted to be a mom. I didn't know what kind of work I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to be a mom and a wife. And I also didn't have a strong career path. I had graduated with a bachelor's in psychology, and it's not easy just to step in. It's not an easy career path. And I wasn't really feeling called, but I was called to be present with my kids. I thought we would be married forever. Like, the people around me were people that got married and stayed married, and that was the goal. That's, you do that 50, 60 years together. Maybe around when I was around 30, somewhere around 31, it was hard to be a stay-at-home mom. It felt like there was not, it's a job where there's not a lot of appreciation. I also started to feel, before my early 30s, I started to feel like my world was so small. I took care of the kids. I went to church. That was it. And there was some type of spark in me for like, what more could I be? What more could I do? Is there more of me? I knew because I was married to a farmer, there was no chance for us to move together. This place, my marriage, everything was stuck. It was happening right here. There was never a chance for it to go anywhere else different. There was a restlessness inside of me. Things really got messy when I went to the Michigan Women's Music Festival. A friend from church had asked me about it, and she identified as bisexual, had never been with a woman. She needed to explore a little bit more of that part of herself. She was married to a man. And I was straight. I never identified as bisexual or anything. But she wanted to go to this festival. She felt like she needed a buddy to go. And I'm like, well, gosh, I'll go with you. And it really was a sense of I will help provide this experience for my friend. That's really important to her. And Steve was fine with that too. And after I made that decision, I started to get panicked a little bit. There's gonna be lesbians there? This is a lesbian event. And I felt terrified about that. And I remembered also when I went to college, for some reason, all the drive from my house, and my college was an hour away. But the whole way I was nervous about there's going to be gay people there at college. There's going to be lesbians and there's going to be gay people, and what am I going to do about that? And I think my mom was really perplexed. We weren't conservative, so there's no reason for this fear, but somehow I was hyper-focused on that. And so then looking back, now that I know where I am now, and looking back, there were these little hints of I wonder, why are you so afraid of gay people? I don't know. So anyway, I got really afraid, nervous about going to this festival. And to manage that anxiety, I thought I need to make this about my journey, not my journey, but I need to make it about just me. I can't just tag along for her. I need to be an active participant in going on this trip. So I got on the website. Michigan Festival had a website. This was all pre-social media and Facebook, so it was a bulletin board is what they called it. But they had these different subject threads, and you would post in there and read other people's writings. And so I got on there and started just getting a sense of what it was going to be about. again, in my anxiety, I was like, maybe I could meet one of them face to face, and then they would see that I'm a cool person, and I would be accepted once I get to this festival. I'll have a group of people, and they'll be like, oh yeah, that the one I would meet would vouch for me, and like, yeah, she's totally legit. So this one woman lived in Des Moines. I told her like, hey, I'm coming to Des Moines anyway for something else. Can we meet up for coffee, and maybe you could tell me a little bit more about the festival? And so she said yes, which was really sweet. So I'm waiting there for her to come in, and I'm like looking for who is this person going to be. And so she walks in, and I realized like, oh, I think that's the woman. And there was this little like, hello, like, oh, a spark happened inside of me. Like a little bit of an attraction, curiosity kind of thing. So festival, we go to the festival. So is two friends from church actually went. It was like entering another world I had never been in before. There's so many different types of women there. I had never been around what I would call tomboy women, and there was like tons of them. So I fell in with that group of people from the bulletin board and that woman that I had coffee with. And so I remember we were at a party on one of the first nights, and I was drawn, and I knew at that time that I was like, I'm interested in her, and scared and interested, and I was unfamiliar with the land and the trails, and so at the end of the party, I had to go back, and I was like, I don't know, can someone tell me which way to go? And she volunteered to like walk me. So we're like walking, she's kind of getting me through the hard part to the easy part of the trail where it's like a straight shot. We ended up in her tent. So there was some type of attraction she had. And yeah, we made out. I don't know if I would say we had sex. Her face, like she's on top of me, right? And so this tomboy, like masculine energy, tomboy face, but the softness of the female body blew my mind. Like I cannot even tell you, it was like whoa. It was so powerful. And so we had that in that like one encounter, she and I, nothing else really came of that. And so then we come to Michigan number 2. So we were gonna go back, the two friends from church and we went again. Towards the end of that festival, I started to really get the sense like, I do need a change. And this women culture and this women experience is something that is really true in me. And I can't just go back to keep things the same. And that was painful to realize that. I remember sitting with a group of women one morning towards the end and telling them that, and I was crying and saying, I am scared like my children, like, what does that mean, for my kids, for me? And they said, you're gonna be fine, and your kids are gonna be just fine. And one of the women that was saying that, had an adult daughter there, and she's like, I walked that path. So many women walk that path where, you have your husband and kids and realize that something different is in store for you. And by you being true to yourself, your kids are going to be better for that. And it really gave me the peace. And I could see there's her adult child on the land with her, and I could had a tangible person like, yes, this is possible. This is possible. And I leave that festival just in anguish, knowing that I had to tell Stephen that I did need a change. He was I think, devastated. Stephen's very much a monogamous, committed man. I knew that I needed to step into that women's space, women love, women culture, women focus in my intimate relationships. Living where we lived on the farm, there's, even if I had moved to Grundy Center, there still wasn't women's community there. And we talked about the idea of, you boys coming with me. There was nothing in me that wanted to take you away from your land. I'm the one that needed to change. And so we had to figure out a way to do it. And we crafted a way that is not like anyone else, really. So we decided that I would go off and explore what I needed to explore and allow you all to have the stability of what we wanted for you. I had to figure out where I would go, and I decided to try out Georgia. And the reason I chose Georgia, that woman that I spent that second festival with was from Atlanta. And when I was talking with her towards the end of that festival, I think I need to come out. I think I need to be with women, leave my marriage. And she's like, well, if you need a great city to come out in, Atlanta is a great place. I faced a lot of judgment from people for making that choice to go to Atlanta so far away. What kind of a mother would make that choice? Who leaves their children to come out and to go? Who turns gay and leaves? That's the shame I had on myself, and the shame that I felt other people, that judgment coming from other people. And Stephen, as painful as it was, he was just an absolute gentleman and a partner, really, in helping to make those decisions. And we didn't tell you boys right away. I don't remember telling the two younger ones of you, but I remember telling Adam and Isaac, and Isaac's reaction, that I was moving, that I was going to move far away, and his little face, he's serious, he's a serious child, he's a serious boy. He just looked at me with just straight face and was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And I worried then. And I still worry about the wounding of that for you children. And I can picture the day that I drove away. We have a picture. I don't know if you can picture the photograph. We have a photograph of that day. And so when I have looked back on that picture at different times, I see this joy in us. And then I think, oh my God, what happens right after that picture is the mother gets in a car and drives away. Those things don't go together, So when I was thinking about talking to you about this story, it's I picture telling that story to that little boy whose mama just drove away. I'm like, oh God, it was horrible for me. And I'm an adult making the decision. I can't imagine how that felt for you boys. How that would feel to a small person to not understand what was happening. After I moved down to Georgia, I had a lot of tears, missing you, wondering, did I do the right thing? And given that hard thing, I think we did all right at, Stephen was a good man. And had Stephen not been a good father, and I feel like any other man I might not have felt that the kids would be okay. I knew he was a good man and had the capacity to do right, in this hard thing. In the loss, there's so much loss for me and for Stephen and you kids. But you gained, I'll speak for what I think. I gained myself. I fully grew up. It wasn't until moving to Georgia that I learned how to be an adult. All of these things that a lot of people have already learned, I'm like 33, learning how to be a grown-up. And so because Stephen was so far away, I couldn't rely on him. I really had to step into my own self. The missing is just always present for me. And trying to figure out over the years how to really be a mom to you in a way that is meaningful to you. Even though I wasn't an everyday mom, how could I be the best mom I could be? I don't know that I always met my goals. Like when I think about how can I be the best mom, even though I'm not an everyday kind of mom to you. Some things I think I did well, some I wished I could have done better, but it's also the same kind of thing I feel now that you're all grown. I'm like, how am I a mom to these grown men, these adults? I don't know how to do that, and I feel like I fall short or I don't know the right way to do it. So it's kind of that, maybe that's just part of the journey of mothering. No matter what kind of mom you are, you're always like, am I doing it right? Am I doing enough? Am I loving the kids in a way that is meaningful to them? And since I left my marriage to Stephen, I have been really fortunate to have a lot of great women in my life. One of the things I have not been able to do yet is to create a lasting partnership with a woman. And I hope that at some point I get to have that I can figure out what I need to do within myself to make that possible. Becoming lesbian identified is absolutely the right path for me. It's where my soul sits. There's an emotional knowing, a spiritual connection that is so different than what I experienced with any of my male relationships. It's a shared sense of commonality. It's really rich, emotionally rich. I got this tattoo on my arm as I went to 13 Michigan Women's Music Festivals before the last one ended. And this is how they spell women. It's the word women, but with a Y instead of an E. So like there's no men in the women. And I got this was really important to me with that festival ending. And the message was, now that this intentional women's community is ending, your job is to take everything you have learned here, take it out into the world, and you build women's community now. It's your job to go build it. Find your people, find a community. And so this is a reminder to me of my identity and the work that I need to create women's space and women's culture.